So, the Berlin Wall. It began on August 12, 1961 and ended on November 9, 1989, which was the mark between the communist and capitalist regimes and ideals. So what happened? First there was the Vienna Summit, or the Vienna Conference, held on June 4th, 1961 in Vienna, Austria, between President John F. Kennedy of the United States and Premier Nikita Khrushchev of the Soviet Union, and they were leaders of the two superpowers, and they discussed numerous issues between the relationship of their countries, and as well how Europe would be governed. So, key players, first was Lyndon B. Johnson, and he was the vice president of John F. Kennedy at the time, and really supported John F. Kennedy's want to assist the European countries in order to get the communists out of there. Next was Walter Ulbricht, and he was a German communist politician, and he played the leading role in the creation of the Weimar area, the Communist Party of Germany, the KPD, and as well the establishment of East Germany. Next was Willy Brandt. Willy Brandt was a German statesman and politician and the leader of the Social Democratic Party of Germany, the SPD, from 1964 to 1987. Next was Erich Honecker. He was a German politician who was the General Secretary of the Socialist Unity Party and led the German Democratic Republic from 1971 until the next weeks of the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Next is Egon Ketz, a former politician from the German Democratic Republic of East Germany, and was the country's last leader in its final months. Next is Ronald Reagan, who had the famous quote, "Tear down this wall," and challenged Mikhail Gorbachev to destroy the Berlin Wall in a speech at the Brandenburg Gate near the Berlin Wall on June 12, 1987. Next is John F. Kennedy, who also, as we spoke before, traveled to Vienna, Austria to the summit with the Soviet leader, and but also paid a visit in the summer of 1963 and visited Berlin and gave a speech to rally up the German morale, saying, "Let them come to Berlin." Last is Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the last Soviet leader, the eighth and the last Soviet leader of the Soviet Union, and was also the president of the Soviet Union from 1990 to 1991. So, next, what happened? So the Berlin Wall was a 13-foot barrier to keep Europe split from the communist and the capitalist regimes, and it to not allow Western influences into Europe. So the Soviet Union gave a shoot-to-kill order because there was a big rally and they wanted to keep in their citizens in order for them to continue their economic development, and it was more permeable from the west to the east. So important dates: November 11th was when Nikita Khrushchev declared London Protocol of 1944 was invalid, and the U.S., France, and Britain had forfeited their right to be present in Berlin. Next, on May 1961, NATO had a meeting and they decided West Berlin should choose their own political system. Then from 1955 to 1961, more than 200,000 people, mostly skilled professionals, left East Germany, and therefore Germany realized it could not survive, and they began to build the Berlin Wall. On August 12th through the 13th, 1961, the Work Militia and German police used barbed wire fence to close the border between East and West Germany in a night, and then in the next weeks it was replaced by concrete. In October 1961, the American and Soviet tanks confronted each other at Checkpoint Charlie, and many feared nuclear war since both superpowers were on high alert. On October 1989, the East Germans gave in to protests by their German cities and who demanded greater freedom, and they began to act reform. On November 9th, 1989, the East German government announced a revised version of the East Germany's travel law and reduced border restrictions. So the impact on the Cold War: the Berlin Wall split communism and capitalism, and the Berlin Wall was set to keep out Western influences, and this increased political tensions between the superpowers, and they began to fight for Europe's dominance. So that's the Berlin Wall.